Hi whiskey enthusiasts, let's review some whiskey. Today I have Teeling single grain Irish whiskey. Single grains aren't nearly as popular as single malts. There's a lot that's not really known about them, and you will find very few of them actually on the market. So it's a little bit of a niche market, and it's somewhat unusual. Teeling makes several good whiskeys, and I have not had them all. They're reasonably priced. You can get their small batch for somewhere in the mid-30s in US dollars. The single grain and the single malt from Teeling will run you somewhere in the mid-40s up to about $49 or $50. So they're reasonably priced. They're not that hard to find, although the name is not as well known as some other Irish whiskeys or even other scotches. So this is non-chill filtered. I'm almost certain, although it's not on the label, I'm almost certain that it's not colored either. And it is bottled at 46%. So let's see what we've got in the glass. Initially, you're hit with vanilla frosting, a little bit of floral, sort of like heather, and there's a fruit underlying that is not exactly apple, but it's along that line. There's a breadiness to the nose that is a little difficult to describe. However, if I had to compare the bready floral note, it reminds me just slightly of some of your more mild American rye whiskeys. That isn't to say that this comes across as a rye. It just has that note in it that is reminiscent of a rye. The nose is very balanced. There's not any one of these notes that really overpowers anything else. It's a little fruity, and it's a little sweet, it's a little spicy, and it's a little floral, but none of them are dominant. All in all, this is, it's not a powerful nose, but it's a pleasant nose, and there's absolutely nothing you could really find wrong with it. And there's a lot to locate in it if you'll take the time. The palate is a little more fruit forward than the nose. You get the apple. There's a little bit of white grape mixed in with the apple. And maybe that's why in the nose that I didn't quite identify the fruit. I said it was sort of like apple, but not quite. And that's probably why I was getting just a little bit of that grape mixed in with it. It's pleasant. There's definitely a bread character, almost like a marbled rye. There's also some spice. The spice is mild. You're not going to get anything clove or really, really strong cinnamon at the beginning of this. It's more like allspice. There is a bit of a pepper note, and there is some licorice way down deep that comes out in the latter part of the palate. One thing that strikes me as a little unique the palate is a little bit dry. And as it goes into the finish, I get even more of that. The finish is way more dry than I would expect from this kind of a whiskey. You still got some pepper and the spice. There's just a slight wood influence, but mostly the wood only comes across in the spices and in the vanilla frosting that you get in the beginning. You don't get a lot of oakiness in this. There's a little bit, but it's not strong. And based on the drying nature of the palate late and especially into the finish, where the finish lingers for a long time but still has that very dry quality, my gut tells me that the wine casks that are used to age this are not fortified wines like you would normally see. I don't sense any kind of sherry in this at all. I don't think it's port or anything like that. I would more think that it's more of a Chardonnay or a Bordeaux cask that is a non-fortified wine of some sort. It doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's different. I really like this whiskey. I think it is solid as a sipper for under 50 bucks. It is also perfectly suited because it is so balanced and does not have one overpowering note that gives it this massive personality that you can't stifle. Because of that and because of its balance, I think that it would also be good if you wanted to use it in some sort of a cocktail. So I think it has a lot of uses. The price is right. I think this is a very good whiskey worthy of trying. And there is quite a bit unique about it, I think, because of this dry finish that it has. I would love to know what the wine casks they're using are, but unless the casks are very well used, I don't think it's a fortified wine. I think it's more something that is a standard table wine. So I hope that was useful for you. This is a good solid whiskey. On a true scale of 1 to 100, where 50 is average, I would give this probably a 75. In a Scotch category, I would probably put it a little bit lower because it doesn't have the strong character of a single malt. But in the Irish category, this is a solid contender, and I think it offers something that's somewhat unique among Irish whiskeys. Hope that was informative. Go out and find you some whiskey you'll love.